All right, parents, you are in for such a treat. You need to listen to this conversation from my new friend, Benjamin Davis with Noble Clay Fitness. Man, I am so excited for you to hear such practical advice that he has for getting fitness as a part of your family routine. Don't want to give anything away. Here's my new friend, Benjamin. Welcome to the Family Table. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I speak with parents, caregivers, and family experts about the joys and challenges of family life. We'll share the stories, advice, and insights that will help you build a loving and resilient family. Pull up a chair and join us at the Family Table. Welcome, everybody, to the Family Table. I'm your host, Matthew Eford, and I'm so excited to have my new friend with me, Benjamin Davis, with Noble Clay Fitness, Noble Clay Ministries. A friend of a podcast, Alex, connected us, and I'm so excited for us to have this conversation about integrating fitness in with our kids and how we can help steward them. So Ben is a father of 4. He's been married for 14 years now. And so Ben, I'm so excited. Those who may not know you, Benjamin, how did you get into Noble Clay Fitness? So let's start there. Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, first of all, Matthew, thank you for having me on. I mean, it's an honor and privilege to be able to have a conversation, especially with this topic. I'm very passionate about it. I think it's very important, and I'm just excited to be on here. So appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah, to answer your question, Noble Clay was just it was a calling on my life that was discovered after becoming a believer. I was 25 years old on a bridge of suicide, and the Lord revealed Himself to me.
Wow.
And through that relationship and through getting to know Him and His Word, through prayer, through fellowship with His church, and other things, just kind of just started to discover this calling in my life to encourage people to take care of their bodies, really as an act of worship, which is something I'll talk a little bit about today, but as a way of worshiping God through the stewardship of what He's given us in these bodies of ours. So that's how it started,
I love that.
early on. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I launched into for-profit business. I was kind of failed out of college and, but had an athletic background in wrestling and soccer.
Okay.
And then just had a passion for physical fitness and got into Globo Gyms as personal trainer boot camp guy with Lifetime Fitness, and then found CrossFit in '08.
Nice.
Started a business with a friend of mine there, and then have been was in the for-profit from 2008 to really 2018, where I started Noble Clay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the Noble Clay Ministries, right? You said that's kind of the parent company. When you're getting kind of out of the for-profit space into this kind of ministry aspect, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So I first realized kind of this calling of positioning my gift and skill set within fitness coaching and leveraging that as ministry. In
Nice.
2011, I had a friend of mine, Blake Schubert. He was doing ministry over in Uganda, and he came to me and said, "Hey, can we use your CrossFit gym to raise money to build this school over in Uganda?" And I was an early believer. I was very new in my faith, and I just jumped on it, loved it. Yeah, let's do it. So we did it, executed the event, raised the money. He took it over there and built a school in Uganda, and really preserved this village in Uganda, and
Wow.
it really opened up this light bulb coming. I was like, this is what God's called me to do: is position this fitness as a ministry.
Sure.
And then from 2011 to really 2014, I moved into the city of Atlanta, and started a franchise called Iron Tribe. It was another for-profit fitness model. And what was unique about this, this is what I mean by God discovered my calling and purpose, right? Is we moved into Atlanta in the context of a very tough neighborhood of the Old Fourth Ward. And the context of my neighborhood was we lived in the midst of the largest affordable housing complex called Bedford Pine in the southeast of the country.
Wow.
And within these 750 units, we lived, and we went to church at Blueprint, and we were doing just living life. And all my neighbors and friends that we were building a relationship with, were suffering from things that I knew within fitness could help them. Yet I had a gym called Iron Tribe that was very expensive. It was $250 a month, and it was unreachable for these folks
Sure.
financially.
Sure.
And so that burdened my heart, and it really angered me and it frustrated me. And that's when I went through prayer and through a lot of ups and downs and considerations with my wife to really think of a way that we could reach them. And that's how Noble Clay got birthed. It got birthed out of the burden um, that God kind of put on my heart, and it happened because I was living in proximity,
Sure.
right? And something I learned from a pastor of mine said, it's not a problem until it's your problem.
Yeah, I
And
love
and
that.
and that was true for me. You know, it's not a I'm not might not have seen this if I had I still lived in Gwinnett County.
Sure.
But God implanted my family into literally into the proximity of it. And so now we are on mission to enhance human movement and connection, which addresses two problems: human movement, chronic disease; connection, loneliness.
Yeah.
And so we build healthy little fitness communities. We have two locations in Atlanta, and one in the toughest neighborhood of Atlanta, in the 30314, which is the west side of Atlanta, on the campus of City of Refuge, and then another location in the southeast part of Atlanta, about a block from the old Olympic Stadium and the Brave Stadium.
Yeah. Wow. So,
Yeah,
so talk to us about you move your family, right? What
yeah.
was your family dynamic when you moved in 2014 timeframe to the rough part or rough-ish part of Atlanta, right? You moved from Gwinnett, very nice, affluent, to a difficult place. Talk us through that move as a family, that God calls you there, and give us some insights there.
Yeah, so at the time, it was my wife and I. We were fairly newlywed. We got married in 2011.
Okay.
So this was 2014. My wife knew that it was the right thing to do. Matter of fact, that's how I knew we were making the right decision, is that my wife and I were aligned.
Yeah. Cool.
I brought it to her, and we prayed together about it. We got counsel from, at our current local church there in Swanee, and we felt like it was what God was calling us to. So, we did the normal things. We read God's word. We prayed together. We fellowshiped and got counsel. We looked at our circumstances and we looked at where all those aligned. And it was like, yeah, that we're hearing God's voice here. So we acted and moved, and then my first son was born 2017, March of 2017, and
Okay.
I had not left the for-profit world yet. We left in December, so he was a newborn baby.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Big change.
big change. So I felt again another burden on my heart. I said, Lord, we got to get out of this. We got to help these people, and this is how I think He's calling us to do it. And she was worried at first because we were leaving security financially, and we were leaving a
Sure.
lot of things, taking some huge risks with a newborn child to do that. And but we went for it, and it's been good since then.
I love that. So talk to me about your son's born, right? You
Mm-hmm.
leave the for profit space. You're starting into this calling that God has for you. Now, talk to me as a dad, right? We launched our first business. We launched 5 months before our firstborn, before Walker was born. So,
Mm-hmm.
the kudos to you. It is one of the hardest years of our life, right? Just
Totally.
having a newborn, starting a new business, going out into something that you feel God pressing you to, calling you to. I love that perspective. So, talk to me about how you're leading your family into those difficult situations, into difficult relationships, into some of the sense of danger or unknown as you're raising your family in the area that you are. Um, Talk to me how God's been faithful. Give us some examples of that. Yes, we can trust God, not just on a surface level, but we can go deeper, and He can call us into some of these hard areas, and we can trust Him.
Yeah, that's good. So I'll give you a couple of stories. When we left in 2017, we didn't have a ton of savings, and but my wife really spoke life into me, because at first when we were thinking about doing this ministry, we were like, let's go into the church and let's do workshops and let's do all this stuff. And I was just missing the mark on my calling, and I really got in a depressed state. And my wife and I was just crying on the living room floor one afternoon. Actually, it was during the day. And Laura looked at me, sat me down with these loving eyes that she has. She says, "Ben, God's called you to build a community, a fitness community. You're good at that. I've seen you do it. This is what you need to do." And so I tell people all the time, like, Noble Clay's in existence really because of my wife.
Yeah, I love
She's
that.
she's the true founder of it. And so, you know, there was a young kid, um, Neo, who I had met in FCA soccer in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And he had run up to me one day in the park and said, Ben, I thought you said you were going to coach me, because I kind of flippantly said that probably 2 months prior. And this is when I was in that depressed state.
Sure.
And Laura was with me, and she looked at me. She goes, "See, that's what you need to do." And so we went out into the park, and I just started putting up flyers in the neighborhood saying, "Hey, meet me here on Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m." and start coaching him. And sure enough, like, it was Neo's mom, and then
Yeah, I
Bondo,
love
and they
that.
just started showing up, and we started training them. And in the meantime, I was out, trying to fundraise and pitch the idea of what I was trying to create, and trying to raise my own support. And we started to slowly do that, but it was difficult, and our bank account started coming down.
Sure.
And there were moments. I mean, I got a picture on my phone where I looked at my bank account and had $500 in it, and I had rent due, and it was like 12 something. And Laura and I just got, held each other's hand, got on our knees, prayed. Lord, we know that you're the provider. Even if our bank account has zero, we know you're going to feed and provide. We trust you. And sure enough, it was within weeks, we get a couple checks, and it's just, everything's taken care of.
I love that.
And so I think what I would say is that, like, really, really being vulnerable and leaning and trusting God as Jireh, the provider,
Yeah.
is a key to the journey of life at large. And He'll show up, when you fully let go and fully trust Him, and act on that by prayer and by exercising some spiritual disciplines that allow you to connect with Him. He'll show up and provide every time. So
I love that.
that
Yeah.
was one story. I'll share one more, because this actually comes from a guy that you've had on your podcast, Logan Kafer and
Yeah. Oh,
Jenny.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So remember Logan?
Logan's a friend of
So
the podcast. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So Jenny, this was really early on in the ministry too. We were just building Noble Clay, and Jenny was going on a overseas trip. This
Okay.
was before she. I think this was even before she knew Logan and before they got married. I know
Okay.
definitely before they got married.
Okay.
I don't know if they had known each other yet, but we were at a worship gathering to raise money for Jenny to go overseas, and it was just like such a special gathering of believers that were worshiping God, and just the Holy Spirit started stirring, and everybody there. And Laura and I didn't have much, but Laura and I looked at each other, and there was a large amount, and it was like dangerous for us to give this amount.
Sure.
But we knew God was like saying, because it was a specific number that came to me and her separately, and then we came together. We were like, whoa. I was like, okay, we got to do that. And so we gave to support her ministry work, and just trusting God with that. And again, it was this moment of going, okay, we know you're going to show up, and He just shows up tenfold.
I
It was
love it.
amazing.
I
So
love it, man.
I just had to share that one because Logan was on your podcast.
Yeah,
So
no, that's great. Yeah, Logan's an old friend of mine, and I'll make sure that we tag him in this when we post it. But yeah,
yeah,
man. So I love just a couple of things from that. One, but let's go to your second story first, because it's more fresh.
mhm,
What I have found in my life, and anyone who's listening to this who's a believer in Jesus Christ, the more that you lean into God and His provision and His protection and His guidance, the more that He opens doors that there's no other way possible it could have opened. And it's not always financial, right? He still provides financially, but he just continues to provide a level of peace and of comfort and sustaining you through what seems like utter chaos around you. The
totally.
more that we lean into that, I love how you're modeling that, Benjamin, so much. So thank
Yeah,
you for sharing that story. But
yeah,
the first story you shared, the one of the takeaways I have from that is the value of your wife's encouragement. So I can speak for me at least in my
Oh, yeah.
life. When my wife Hannah, when she speaks encouragement over me, gosh, I can run through a wall. So
Amen.
any wife who's listening to this, you hold the keys of such a valuable level of fuel for your husband. The way that you can encourage him in his life as a man of faith, in his professional life, in his home life. Please, please do not miss the opportunity that you have to speak such life into him. And I promise you it will not return void. I promise you it is such a valuable tool. And I love how your wife modeled that, right? That she saw something in you that you may not have really seen yourself, or you may have been afraid to see in yourself. And she helped speak that into existence. And she helped encourage you and call you to something greater. So let's take that
Totally.
perspective and let's talk about you as a dad and you in the coaching realm and the fitness realm, calling our kids into something greater. So give me some insights. I know you're super passionate about this. Talk to
Yeah.
me about your kids. How are you as a dad? How are y'all as parents? How are you integrating fitness into your parenting and just your overall family lifestyle?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I'd say is that you really have to look at your why and the meaning behind it. Like, why do it? Because that's where you're going to be motivated to do it,
Sure.
right? And the simple answer is you got to model it for them. They got to see you doing it. There's no better way than just to, you know, do it yourself. You
Yeah.
don't have to say a word, and they'll start doing it with you, or because they want to be with you. We come into this world as infants looking for someone to cling to, right? We want to be known, we want to matter, and we want to belong. Those are probably the deepest core needs of a human heart, and it's no different for our kids. And so they want to belong, they want to be with you. And so if you're showing them movement matters, if you're showing them quality food matters, if you're showing them being out in nature and sun in the sunshine matters, they're going to go out there and do it with you.
I love that.
That's the simple answer. And so then the real question then for parents, maybe this is for those that aren't maybe aren't doing that, is to really think about what's the meaning to doing that,
Sure.
right? And I'll share it from two perspectives. One from a true perspective, which is number one, caring for your body, pursuing fitness as a family, literally is an act of worship. And I'll give evidence for that. I'll
Yeah.
give
Tell me
evidence
more.
for that. So when you look at the Older Testament, right, you see the temple. You see first is the Ark of the Covenant. It moves into the tabernacle, and then it moves into the first temple that Solomon built around 500 BC. And then the second temple. Well, what was it? Well, it was a place of the divine presence. It was where God resided. It was a sanctuary of His presence. It was the center of worship. It's where the whole Jewish nation came to gather to worship Yahweh. It was a pilgrimage site. I mean, people came from all over to gather and congregate around this one thing. It was literally their national identity, and it was a place of spiritual authority. When before, even after really the Romans tore it down in 70 A.D. So the temple was extremely important.
Yeah.
Then you get into the Newer Testament and you see that Jesus himself refers to his own body as the temple. If you read John 2:19-21, you see that. He also shows in 1 Corinthians 6:19 that believers are the temple. He says, Paul says, do you not know that your temple your body is a temple which the Holy Spirit dwells? It was actually bought with a great price,
Yeah.
right?
Amen.
So it's a place that the Holy Spirit literally resides in the hearts of believers all over the world, right? Extremely important. The church was the temple. You see the spiritual temple, a body of believers in Ephesians 2:19 and 22, and 1 Peter 2:5 talks about that Jesus is the cornerstone, and we are many members are joined at that, to that cornerstone to build up this spiritual body, right? And so you see the temple as that, and then you get into Revelation 21 and 22, and you see the heavenly temple. That one day in the New Jerusalem, God's going to bring us new bodies, this kind of spiritual body. there'll be no more need for a physical temple at that point. Why? Because God will be fully present with us.
Sure.
Like that's the hope that we have as believers. And so the question then is now, well, the here and now, what do we do about that? We have to see it with a new lens. I don't think the church sees it as this, as like that the body is so very important because it literally is a place where he dwells. And so the question is like, do we treat it as such? Do we see it as such? Or do we flippantly care for it, right?
Yeah.
Or we give into gluttony, or
Yeah.
we give into laziness, right? Or we give into these other sins, which are really destruction to us, right? They don't bring human flourishing, and certainly not holiness. So first of all, I just say like from the outset, like big picture, the body, we have to really weld our body like we would a sword. Like we have to weld our body to be effective, to be used by God. And God wants that. Like he's called us to steward and to be productive with our life.
Yeah.
He's going to hold us accountable to that. And so from the get-go, it's like, okay, it's important. But it's literally an act of worship as I go and do it. It's a way for me to say, God, I revere you. I worship you. You're worthy of all of my life. You're worthy of my soul, my heart, my mind, my strength. You deserve this. You made it all. You sustained it all. You're sovereign over it all. You've knitted me together in my mother's womb uniquely and wonderfully. There's no other person like me. It's proven by my fingerprint on my finger
Yeah.
and my genome. Right? I could go on and on. But the importance is like that's the importance of doing this. So step one is like, what's the meaning of it? That's the true meaning as believers, right? And for maybe a non-believer, maybe you don't believe in all that. I'll give you another thing to think about when
Okay.
it comes to leading your family, when it comes to meeting. And there's a lot of good like behavioral science on this. From I'll give you one from Dr. Michelle Segar's work that she's done. She's a behavioral scientist out of Michigan State. And most of us pursue fitness with unsustainable meanings. So,
Okay.
for example, when I ask somebody like, "Hey, why are you here to see me as a fitness coach?" I want to lose weight. I want to live longer. I want to get stronger. I want to be stronger for my kids, so I can play with my son and go do, this and that. Right. The the reason why that's unsustainable is because what happens in our subconscious mind is it becomes a chore that we should do.
Yeah.
Right?
Keep going.
And
Yeah.
it's delayed gratification. Lose weight, live longer, all that's delayed in its gratification. It's a chore. When it becomes a chore, just as a chore, like we don't want to do it. And then what that we should do so that we can get XYZ. But whenever we should, it's a form of self-shame. Shame says I am wrong. Shame is absolutely destructive.
Yeah.
And what happens is people jump into a fitness routine, they try to do these new habits, they try to get these new diets, all this stuff. And then what happens is they sustain for some time, 21 days, 30 days, whatever it may be, and then they're off again. What happens? They gain weight, they do all that. Oh, let me get back in. All right, I need to go lose weight. Or the doctors are telling us, or even the fitness industry is telling us, they're going down the aisles of Publix and seeing all the magazines, lose this in 6 weeks and all. It's a massive lie. And so we have to start with meaning first. Those are unsustainable meanings. I want to offer your audience and yourself even sustainable meanings
Okay.
to pursuing fitness.
Okay.
These are going to be things that are instant in their gratification, right? So they're going to be things like, and by the way, you could ask anybody that lives a fitness lifestyle, and these are the answers they'll give you. They'll say, well, it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
It lifts my mood.
Yeah.
It gives me more energy.
Sleep
More
better at
mental,
night.
yeah, yeah, it gives me, even that's a little delayed gratification, but like I'm talking about instant. I do it because it's fun. I do it because I connect with others doing it, right? Connecting with others and fun, by the way, is really two of the most powerful things. They are, and I'll give you a short example. Like I played soccer and wrestling. I put my body through torture.
Sure.
I never did it because I never went to soccer practice to run doggies. I went to soccer practice because Justin was there, Jacob was there. All my friends were there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a spiritual, emotional being predominantly. And I went there to be with them. And then I found out, oh, the game of soccer is fun. Let me continue this on. Right. Like literally, that's what happened. And then I went on this whole lifestyle training and, because it was fun and I was connected with others. So those are the two powerful ones, but feeling good, lifting your mood, mental acuity, increased energy, all that happens too. And what's amazing about it is when somebody goes, you know what, I'm going to go for a brisk walk, or I'm going to go, do some workout with somebody. Right after that, if you recognize, you're like, wow, I do feel better. I'm lifted, right? And there's, by the way, there's all kinds of scientific reasons for that. I won't get into necessarily unless you want me to, but like, that's the feeling and the state that happens. So here's what happens. Instead of it being a chore that I should do, people start to realize, man, this is a gift to my being and I want it.
Yeah.
Now, as
What a
humans,
powerful perspective.
very powerful. So when you want something, what do we do as humans? We go get it.
Yeah.
Right. And we get up every day. It's like a gift that just keeps on giving because you're like, oh, I just invested 30 minutes sweating and get my heart rate up and I feel better. So tomorrow I'm going to get up and I want to do that same thing. Right. You can apply this to eating healthier foods. When you recognize, wow, like this good balanced meal with good, lean meat and some good vegetables and maybe some berries and maybe some nuts and seeds. Afterwards, man, I didn't feel bloated. I felt good. I was ready to go. Wow, I feel better. I'm lifted. I want that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So anyway,
I love that perspective. And
so
I love
that's
the
the meaning.
distinction of really getting into this is not delayed gratification, that this is the immediate sense of, I feel better when I go to work out. And one of the things that Hannah and I found when we got back into CrossFit is the community piece, right? I mean, I grew up playing football. I had the opportunity to play in college. And that was a piece that I didn't realize how much I missed, right? We had a little gym in our garage. And I love to see like our boys come out there and they want to lift weights and it's very fun and to get them integrated in with it. But this idea of the community aspect of it, I'm a very social person. I'm very extroverted. I love people. I love being around people. Man, I didn't realize how much I missed that until I got
Huge.
back into a group fitness type setting that is people that can push me, people that can challenge me, people that can encourage me, people that can joke with me, people that support me, that are just genuinely supportive of me being there. Right. And then I'm also supportive of them being there. And it's this relationship that you build that's like, hey, I just want you to be better. And I want to challenge you to be better and I want to challenge you to show up. I love that. I love that perspective. So talk to us about the kids aspect. Okay. So, like I just mentioned our boys, they want to get out and lift some dumbbells and it's very fun. They want to see what they can pick up. And we want to do that with proper form, right? We don't want them getting hurt, but this idea of, okay, talk to parents with a little bit older kids, right? I mean, mine are 7 to 2. So we have a little bit more oversight over them, I guess you would say, control, quote unquote, lack thereof. I know we have a lot of lack thereof, but this idea of we can tell our son, hey, you're going to go do this, and we can pretty well make him go do this.
Yeah.
But for as our kids get older, right, that we have less and less control over that. So you mentioned earlier about this idea of showing them, but what tips would you have about bringing them into the community with you? What does that look like? Was the parent that's listening to this, they've got a teenager that just wants to be on their electronics, and you kind of tell like, hey, they're not taking care of themselves. We just see a future for them that's not going to be great. How do we kind of call that person out of that and get them integrated into more of this kind of fitness regimen, this kind of lifestyle?
Yeah. Short answer is tell them to go watch the movie The Forge.
Okay. Yeah. I have not seen that. Tell me about it.
It's good. It's just I think the Kendrick brothers made it, but it shows, just what you said, like a teenager who's always playing video games but he just comes to know the Lord and, through prayer of his mom and kind of transforms his life. I'm kind of joking there.
No, but I like that. That's a great,
yeah. So, I mean, that's the short answer to go watch Forge. But, again, I mean, I would just, you got to show them, right? They got to see, the parents got to adapt it as a lifestyle first before their kids are going to be, motivated And that can take some time depending on if you don't have that kind of lifestyle built already within your family dynamic.
Sure.
So, the reason why I harp so much on meaning is that you got to make it a value of your family.
I love that.
It's got to be a value.
Yeah.
And I will even just give you a word of caution that if you don't make it a value, you're going to be in trouble. The environment and the world the way it is, we have to intentionally move our bodies a lot.
Yeah.
And we have to be very intentional with the food quality, the way that we're eating, and the things that we're doing. So, that's just step one is like the parents have to show and start to make it a value, do it themselves. That could take some time before their kid that's addicted to the video games or whatever starts to go, see mom and dad doing this. I've seen them do it for quite some time. Maybe I need to join them, right? And slowly through that relationship, you can start to invite your kid. Hey, dad and I are going to go on a walk, and we're going to wear these Go rucksacks with 20 pounds in them. You want to wear one with 10, and now you're on a family walk together. You're outside in the element. Maybe you're even in nature. You're together as family. You've got something weighted on your body, and you're working. That's actually, well, I think one of the easiest things to implement today
Cool.
is to go to a Go rug, get a weighted rucksack, and start going on family walks together. Invite your child, to get off the video game and to go on a 30-minute walk with you.
I love that. Yeah, that's fantastic. We
You know,
we carry our youngest, and we take turns, and he is quite the little lump.
yeah,
But I love that perspective. So Ben, talk to me, or Benjamin, talk to me about your oldest, your son,
mhm,
who's 8 now.
yeah.
Um, how are you getting him integrated into the mission aspect of what you're doing? Talk to us about that.
Well, man, so Thaddeus is 8 now, and he eats up exercise. He just sees us, sees me doing it. He's been deadlifting, and I don't know, weighs he 50 pounds. He deadlifted 95 pounds the other day.
Wow.
He's strong. He sees me picking things up. He wants to pick things up.
Yeah. Cool.
But integrated into the mission in terms of the work that we're doing. He's still like he just actually the other day asked me for the first time, Ben, Daddy, what do you do when you're at work? Like when you go to work, what is it that you do?
Cool.
And I was able to share with him. Well, Daddy's building relationships with partners, and we fundraise money, and we're out helping people, and this is why. And I started breaking down what it is that we do, and it was really, really the first time that he was actually interested and curious about what I did.
I love that.
So again, it goes back to just um, it goes back to opening up enough time and space, to cultivate an environment where your child can be with you. I think that's a big important. That's one big nugget I'll share that I'm still working on myself. Is
Sure.
we all have 24 hours in the day. Our time is limited. It's like a mist. It's passing by faster than lightning, and we have to be very mindful to try to invest and open up our environment to where our kids can get as much time as possible with us. And so that means like making decisions where they can be with you in it as much, having things overlap as much as possible, where you're touching on two, three, or four or more of your family values with one investment of time,
Yeah. I
right?
love that perspective. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so important. That's why I was like, get a rucksack, take your kids, go on a family walk. You're getting conversation together, you're getting movement together, you're getting outside together. You're having those conversations that are important as a family together. I mean, it's just like you're hitting multiple values all in one go.
I love that.
So um,
So talk to us. We talk a lot about like integrating courage and integrity and like for us, one of our core values as a family is that efforts do hard things. That's one of our core values. We just don't stray away from hard things. So how are you using fitness in that perspective of teaching your kids to grow through difficult circumstances instead of avoiding them? Give us some practical advice on that.
yeah, man, I love that. I think I'm biased here, but I do think that that fitness training is one of the best means at teaching a young child or young kid or young human the um, the value of perseverance, the value of grit, the value of difficulty, the value of suffering for good,
Yeah.
right? The value of going through suffering, and the byproduct of that suffering is that you grow.
Yeah.
You know, you grow spiritually, you grow physically. I mean, all of physiology is built on that. We call it the progressive overload principle. You know, specific adaptation to imposed demands. Like as a physical being, like you go through a difficult stimulus, your body gets stronger as a result of it, right? You put your muscles under duress, your bones get stronger as a result of it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a whole cascade of things that occur for that to happen, but that's just the reality. You know, you go through something hard emotionally or spiritually, you grow stronger as a result of it. So fitness, you know, getting your child and doing some training together and going through some difficult stuff together, in my opinion, is one of the best things to do to develop their character. You know, and I saw that early on in wrestling. I think wrestling was the one sport that really did develop my character in a way that no other sport did, because I was cutting weight, I wasn't eating, you know, and I was going through some really difficult physical
Sure.
training, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it built my character. It built my resolve to kind of persevere through when I was not in a when I was in a painful place, right? And that has carried with me for many things in my life, including my marriage. My marriage is hard,
Yeah. I love
you
that.
know.
Yeah, it's a great perspective. Yeah,
It
it's just
is.
we take this, we so often take this approach of I want to make life as easy as possible for my kids, right? And that's such a disservice to them,
It
because then
is.
when they get hit with the world, they're going to think, where did I go wrong? That's the same thing
Totally.
about our Christian faith. That's the same thing about your marriage. It's like, this is not supposed to be easy. There
Right.
should be tension here. There
Yes.
should be these two people in a marriage, or in a father son or father daughter, or same thing with a spouse. This idea of, we're still two humans. We're still two
Yeah.
sinful people, and we're living together, and we're trying to navigate this life together. Okay, well, we're going to learn to grow together, and we're going
Right.
to go through circumstances in life that are hard.
Yeah.
Everything's not rosy. And so
Right.
this perspective of everything's just kind of hunky dory, I'm going to fix all your problems. It's like, no, stop doing that. So for
Yeah.
me as a dad, like the thing that I struggle with so much, if I'm just being real candid, is the time, right? I have three businesses. I'm involved in different ministry opportunities. I have this podcast. I have four boys, right? I have a wife who I love. We have friends. My schedule's very full. And so
Yeah.
when I look at things where my boys have an opportunity to fail in little things, right? And they will wrestle through the failure to get to the accomplishment. For me, I'm like, I can fix that right now. I can fix it. I can
Mm.
fix it like just like that, and we can move on instead of
Mm.
sitting in that moment. Man, that's something that the Lord's been working on me over the last year or so, of just letting the moments be there and
Yeah.
allowing my boys to grow in them, as hard and as frustrating as it is. Like, okay, let's take a pause. Let's be
Mm.
still. And to me, it kind of goes back to, be still and know that I am God, right? That
Mm.
I personally, just talking about for myself, I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this feel the same way, but I myself, I don't sit well. I don't rest well. I don't just sit idle
Mm.
well
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
quiet. And
Yeah.
so that sense of hurry, I'm really trying to aggressively combat. I'm trying to
That's good.
intentionally combat that for my boys, that when they're with me, that I'm present with them, that
Mm.
I'm not always thinking about the next thing that I've got to go do, right? The same thing with my wife, same thing with my quiet time in the morning. Like, these times I'm trying to be actively present. So
Mm.
we'll get off my soapbox there. Let
No,
me
that's
go
good.
back to let me go
It's
back
good
to
stuff.
one of the things you talked about your son, with him deadlifting. I love that, by the way. I love to lift heavy things. I love to move heavy things. It's very fun for me to do, and I love to see my boys doing that. So help me disprove the myth that I heard growing up, which was, if you start lifting too early, you're going to stunt your growth. Right? Can you speak directly to that? Because I know there's other people listening to this, and they
Yeah.
hear you and they say, Benjamin's son's 8 and he's deadlifting too early. He's not going to grow. He's going to have issues. Okay, let's go ahead and disprove. Let's kind of close on disproving that myth real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is that there's not sufficient evidence to say that that's true. Um, and if you look at it logically, it's just not true. Like strip away modern man, put a child back into living in the world without all the modern technology, industrial, growth that we've had over the last 150, 200 years.
Yeah,
And you'll see 8-year-olds moving heavy stuff, period.
it's
They're going to
fantastic
do it
point.
whether you're doing it in a gym environment or not. My kids are. I've got rocks, lining my fence. And there's just a pile of rocks there, and I'm like, I hope my kids don't touch these. And I get home one day, and all the rocks are moved, and they're stacked up, and they made this structure out of them. It's like
I love it.
they picked up heavy stuff. They're going to do it regardless. So, I would just say that and some people may look at my son. My son's small, so they're like, I don't know if I should trust Ben on that one. But that's more just I was like that. I was small. I had a late growth spurt. So, but I touched loads when I was very young. But I will say this. I will say that it is very valuable to train your kids calisthenically first. So meaning just your body weight, like
Okay.
getting them good
Okay.
at moving their own body weight in space is a great foundation before you get into weightlifting,
Okay.
right?
So give us a couple of examples real quick as we kind of wrap up this conversation. This
Sure.
this idea of what are some things that a parent or a grandparent's listening to this and they're saying, hey, I'm doing some of this. I feel more of the why of why I need to be doing this. I see this kind of art of worship and taking better care of my body. I'm going to connect to that mission and I'm going to bring my
Mhm.
family alongside it. What are some things that we can start doing? We talked about the Go Rucksack. We talked about taking the hikes. What are the calisthenics? Somebody who hears that word and it kind of freaks him out. What does that
Yeah.
mean? Give us
Yeah.
some practical examples.
Yeah. So, you your body, first, I'll tell you that your body functions within kind of six primal patterns,
Okay.
right? You have double leg, you have single leg, you have core, which by the way, the core holds all of it together. Your movement starts from a core contraction and it surges to the extremities.
Okay.
You have upper body push, you have upper body pull, and then you have bending patterns like you bend over, your hip hinge, and you bend over and pick something up. Right. Those are six primal patterns. You can maybe put a seventh one in there, like carrying stuff. Like I pick things up
Sure.
and I go and carry it. I would put that into a core pattern and a single leg pattern. But so so with that in mind, right, you think about, well, what could I do with my body within those patterns? And so, for example, like a body weight squat, right?
Yeah.
You could start with, well, let me just get into the bottom of the squat and sit there and hold it for some period of time. Maybe I can sit there for a minute. Great. Let me see if I can get to 2 minutes. Let me see if I can get to three and get it all the way up to 10 minutes of literally sitting in the bottom of a squat. The Americans can't do that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable. But yet over in Afghanistan or other Asian countries, like 80-year-olds are sitting there having dinner in that position. And so why is that valuable? Well, knee health, hip health, there's total, kind of full body health to it. Just being able to sit in a squat. So that's step one. And then once you've kind of got it mobilized, then start doing some reps, right? Maybe you're starting with 10 reps. And then so let me see if I can do 15. Let me see if I can do 20. Continue to progress it over time, right? Where you're building up more and more capacity within that pattern. And I'm just using a double leg pattern because it's
Yeah,
an
no,
easy one to
that's
talk about.
fantastic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you
That's
could
fantastic.
do it with several, right? You could do it with a push up. Well, I want to with a valuable push up. Well, let me start by just holding myself in a push up first, statically, and develop some base level strength. And then from there, if I can get like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe then I'm going to start going down slowly to the ground to see if I can touch all the way down, touch my chest. And maybe I can't get back up. So I just go to my knees and reset and repeat that. And I start building reps there. And then I'm getting to where I can do push ups. Or maybe I go up onto my couch and I'm doing push ups there. And again, start where you're. I don't. Everybody's fitness level is different, but
Sure.
the idea is to stay within yourself, do something that you're able to express in a healthy way, and push yourself just a touch beyond what you have been doing, and then slowly build onto that with consistency and discipline. And that's why I started with the meaning at the very first of this conversation, because the
Yeah.
key The key to all of it is consistency.
I love that.
The key to physiological change is consistency. So the question then becomes, how do I ensure consistency? That's where your meaning is so important. So, if I can attach, well, I'm going to do these push-ups, and afterwards I got blood moving, and now my brain's working better, and my heart's beating more, and all these endorphins are rushing, and now I'm just lifted. My mood is lifted. Well, now I'm like, wow, okay, that's a gift to my being. I want that. I'm going to come back and get that tomorrow. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more. And by the way, you naturally will. Like
Yeah.
you'll naturally get stronger. And so to get that same stimulus, it'll take you having to do a little bit more for you to get that same feeling. And so you'll be pursuing that feeling, and over time, before you know, you're like, man, I'm strong, I'm capable, right? So anyway,
Love
so
that.
that's
I
that's
love,
the
and,
that's
and
like
I love the pattern, right? Because so often we want the immediate gratification, we want the immediate success, not so much the gratification, the immediate success. And if you look at it in the business world, if you look at it in your personal world, in your dating life, in your marriage, very rarely is it very rarely to never is it an overnight success. And so why do we take it into our physical self and our physical health that it's like, hey, I'm going to do this, and then tomorrow I'm going to wake up and it's going to look better. And so we miss that the slow incremental changes, little bit at a time, is what moves the mountain. That's where the massive growth comes from. It's the iceberg principle. It's all the different books that have been written about it. Right? This is okay. When's the best time to plant a tree? 25 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. We could do this today. You can connect your mission of what you're wanting to do, parents that are listening to this. You can get your kids integrated into this. And just think this time next year how different life will be.
totally.
Just think about that. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, today I'm going to do something, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. It's like today I'm going to do a little something, just something, just get me moving in that direction, and then allow the snowball to pick up steam and allow that flywheel to start spinning and allow these changes to start happening, and to see where the Lord takes you. I love that. So Benjamin,
I know
thank
we,
you.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I know we got to wrap up, but I've got one little
Please,
nugget to
no,
give.
please
It
share,
might
man.
it
This is
might
great.
take it might take a couple minutes, but
That's okay. Go ahead.
so what's important. We talked about that, like what you planned a tree 25 years ago, or you could do it today, right? Like we can literally make the choice today to begin to change. And here, education is also, being educated in this also helps, right? Because now you're more aware, you're more knowledgeable, so you're not
Sure.
intimidated about adopting that lifestyle or
Yeah,
adopting that
sure.
habit, right? So I just want to leave your audience with some, like what we call a noble play through our partner at OPEX Fitness, where we got these as basic lifestyle guidelines. So these are things that are just basic to human life, that because of modern man, we got so far away from them that it's creating this massive increase of disease, chronic disease
Yeah,
specifically, which
sure.
is not something that we've dealt with in prior to human history. There's other things that killed us. Now we're dealing with chronic disease that's kind of self-induced. What's amazing is that our bodies literally are their own hospitals. They will, if given the right raw material, God has created us in such a way, even in this sin-filled, broken world with all the toxicity that destroys our body,
Sure.
we still have the mechanisms within us for our body to heal. And so these core kind of BLGs are the raw materials. And I just want to kind of give you a list of them,
Yeah,
right? So
please. This is fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah, please.
first one is hydration. And these are not really in order of importance. If I were to put it in order of importance, let me start with this one: sleep, right? Prioritizing quality sleep, 7 to 9 hours for recovery and hormonal balance,
Okay.
right? Our brains literally go through a toxic recycling when we go through a deep REM cycle, which takes at least 7 to 9 hours of quality, unbroken sleep. So to maximize that, you're getting off your phone or any kind of stimulus, at least an hour before getting into the bed. You're getting into the bed an hour before you want to be asleep. And so 7 to 9 hours, really, you need to be in the bed 8 to 10 hours before you're planning to wake up,
I
right?
love
You
that.
need to be you need to be off the stimulus or the light stuff, 9 to 11 hours before you need to get up. Okay. So sleep being, I think, is the biggest impactor to our health because the brain is the most stingy organ in our body. And that's the one, and this is scary stuff. This is why like Alzheimer's and dementia are such on a rise right now. It's getting worse, but I think this is something that we can heal from. It's not just a genetic thing. We can prioritize our sleep and really, I think, combat that disease.
Love that.
And number two would be hydration. Drinking enough water daily to support bodily functions and support, ideally, a half your body weight in ounces every day.
Okay.
Our bodies are made up a lot of water. Next, I'll give you is food quality. So eating whole, nutrient-dense foods that support health and training. So these are typically one nutrient foods, right? 80% of the foods that go into your body, there's an 80-20 rule, right? 80% needs to be those one nutrient foods. Lean meats, lots of vegetables, fruits when they're in season, nuts and seeds predominantly.
Okay.
Right? Outside of that, try to do 20%, go have fun. We live in the modern world, go eat out. And then food quantity. So consuming the right amount of food to match one's goals, like maintenance, fat loss, muscle gain. But more importantly, like the Japanese have this term where they stop when they're 80% full. So
wow. Okay.
How do we do that in America? Right? Okay. Well, here's how you do it. You get off the phone, you stop being in a hurry. And when you're eating, when it comes to mealtime, you're like, okay, let me stop, let me have a conversation, let me gather around the table and fellowship, take some breaths and relax and chew my food slowly. By doing that, your satiety hormones tell your brain when you're full. The problem is that we're eating too fast.
Yeah.
And so our hormones can't keep up with what needs to be happening in order for us to be able to know to stop when we're 80% full. So key number one is chew your food slowly. And if you could do that, your body will tell you, when you're feeling satiated and full. And then when you start feeling that fullness, that's 80%. Stop. Don't eat more. Right? So, by the way, that one small, simple habit is the biggest impactor to weight loss that I have seen over the last 20 years of being a fitness and
really. Wow.
Coach.
Okay.
That one.
Let's make sure everybody hears that. Okay. Say it one more time. What is that tip? Because most people are struggling with their weight control, and they hear this and they say, "Oh my gosh!" So let's say that one more time.
This is it. Chew your food slowly, and stop when you're 80% full.
Yeah,
that's it. If you can master that habit, that's the biggest impactor in weight loss that we see. It's the biggest one. I mean, you'll see it pretty quickly.
I love that.
All right. So the next BLG, breathing. Right, we forget the value of breathing, right? But we take over 20,000 some odd breaths a day. So practicing nasal and diaphragmatic breathing to kind of stress management and oxygen efficiency. So that's like in the nose, deep belly breathing. So I'm not just breathing into my belly where my belly expands. I'm breathing and I'm trying to laterally expand my belly. That's your diaphragm. It's not this way. It's out this way.
Okay.
So, and by doing that, you're maximizing the oxygen delivery within your system. And people can do this, and literally, like you and I could do this on this call right now, and we will immediately feel less stress. And that is if we came into our nose, deep diaphragmatic breath for 4 seconds. So it's we held it for another 4 seconds, and then we exhaled it nice and slow for 6 to 8 seconds, right? Immediately, you'll feel a peace. You'll feel a relaxing, right? You'll feel that stress start to come out.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we're talking about family. This is in those moments when your kids, so you and I have young kids, right? So we know like my 3-year-old goes crazy. What happens in us? We're like, we start to get enraged.
Yeah, get tense.
By their behavior. One of the most this is something I've been working on extremely hard, and I fail at it daily, but I'm trying my best, is that I get down on their level and I look at them in the eye, and instead of responding, I just breathe with them. I just go, and I would call it dragon breathing. Like, okay, we're going to dragon breath.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Right?
What a fun thing.
We're going to hold it, and we're going to do it a couple times. By the time you get through the second or third rep of that, the emotion that you had is gone.
Yeah.
So, and you think about like how much damage happens because we're not in control of our own emotions when
Sure.
our kids are
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
misbehaving, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's an easy one. Plus, it also brings health to your body. So that's breathing. I'm going to run up through these next three fairly quick. So the next one's daily movement, right? Engaging in more non-exercise movement like walking, stretching, mobility work,
Okay.
right? Like all that kind of, we call it NEAT in the exercise science world, right? But
Okay.
it's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's what NEAT stands for. But this is like, I'm going to try to, we're not doing it on this podcast, but like, it could be like, I'm on the podcast, I'm going to go, or I'm on a phone call, I'm going to go for a walk in that
Sure.
phone call
Yeah.
instead of just sitting.
Yeah. I'm
Right?
going to listen to this podcast and go for a walk. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, which is a great thing to do. So as much daily movement as you can get, the more the better, right? The next thing is reflection. So taking time for mindfulness, journaling, being being self-aware and self-reflective, right? Prayer fits into this, like being still and knowing that I'm God fits into this. Like these moments of just like going, okay, I need to stop. And so an easy way to do this would be like, you know what, in the morning I'm gonna have my quiet time, but somewhere around midday, I'm gonna take a 5 to 15 minute break and I'm gonna chill. For some people, I rest well by actually moving. I'm
Okay.
getting two things in one dose, right? I'm not connected. I'm not listening to podcasts. I'm not doing anything. I'm just like breathing. I'm looking at nature. I might be looking at the sky. I might be listening to birds. I might be like really connecting with God in that moment, but I'm reflecting about my life and about the day and about my mistakes and all kinds of stuff, right? And I'm not a big journal, but I might come back with something I need to write down. So that's a valuable one. And then the last one, and I think this could have been said in the front four, is sunlight and nature.
Okay.
Getting natural sunlight exposure and spending time outside supports our circadian rhythms and our mental health. We have a mental health crisis right now. I'm convinced predominantly, well, we're coming out of COVID, everybody go inside, right? That was the lockdown. Right? That was the dumbest thing we could have done
Sure.
because it's so valuable to be outside in nature. And so again, our bodies are a hospital. They'll heal themselves. We just have to give it the right raw material. Raw material, sunlight, nature. Get your shoes off and go walk barefoot on the ground. Drink water, eat foods that God's put us on this earth to eat that has not been touched by man. Right, the raw material, breathing. Right, these are all things. Movement, all of that stuff is the way God has designed us to operate on this earth, to have dominion over it and subdue it. And when we give that raw material, you'll be surprised at how your body begins to heal. And I could go into further of this stuff like inflammation and how to create insulin sensitivity and all this other stuff. But like those are the basic guidelines. And I'm telling you, we get people to adopt these things that I just told you. 90% of it is that. I would even say not, maybe even greater than 90%. The other 8% is the actual fitness, the
Sure.
actual lifting weights, the actual, all that stuff. So,
Sure.
anyways, I want to give you the
It's a
audience
very
feedback.
it's what as we are more ingrained in the CrossFit community, right? And that kind of lifestyle, what we're finding is the fitness movement piece is such a small part of your overall health, which is
Yeah,
exactly what you're just sharing, right? And
it
and
is.
and for so long we've been taught like if you're just exercise 30 minutes a day, you'll be fine. But what we're finding is there's so much more to the pie. There's so much more to the pyramid, if you would call it,
Mhm.
of the overall fitness journey that as parents, right, we're called to. We're leading our families. What direction are we leading them? Are we leading
Yeah,
them in a direction that's going to set our kids up for success? Are we leading our kids in a direction that's going to set them up for failure? And it's
right.
this idea that, okay, it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what you were shown. Are you going to be the one that makes the difference? Right?
Yep.
As the adult, take ownership over. I know that I come from a history of, call it alcoholics, call it anger management, call it whatever it is, obese, whatever it is. Are you going to be the one that says enough is enough? And
Mm,
my family legacy changes with me. That's
yeah.
what I think we're calling to, right? We're
Amen.
calling to this idea of We have more information now. You've been given this incredible wealth of knowledge. So thank you, Benjamin, for sharing. Now, what are we going to do with it? Right? Is today going to be different because of what we've heard? Right? That there's this idea that knowledge for knowledge's sake is futile. It's what do we do with knowledge? The actual wisdom is taking knowledge and putting it into play. And as parents, we're called to live wisely. We're called to move forward in this world wisely. So my challenge to everybody, myself included, is what are we going to do? Which for me is continue to move more, continue to prioritize sleep, continue to go over these tenets that you said. How can I model these for my boys that I'm being a good steward for myself, that I want to be around, Lord willing, to see their grandkids. That's a long-term thing, but it's the immediate, like, I just feel better. I'm just a more present dad. I'm just more fun to be around. I like myself better, right? And today that I have just more joy. And so, Benjamin, thank you.
No, let me give you this last piece. And I'm going to speak to the dads because this is important. The dads are the head of the household. This is a matter of protecting and providing for your family.
Amen.
That is your like most central call as a dad. That's why God instituted the headship of the father predominantly to protect and provide. And we all know it. Like, I didn't think I could ever, kill somebody, but until I had kids.
Yeah.
But once I had a kid, if somebody messes with that kid, I probably would be able to do that. Why? Because that's what God has instilled in me to do, to protect and to provide for my family. So I'll say this is like, what we're talking about here is not as an immediate as like somebody coming up and, trying to kidnap my kids, right? It's not as intense and immediate as that, but it's subtle. It's slower over time. But this world right now is against their health and their body.
Amen.
You have to act on it.
Amen.
Because it will cause destruction. It's just a slower fade. It's a more subtle fade, and it's there. So call the dads, protect, provide your family, get moving, and implement these strategies for your family. So
I love it, man. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for having it and encouraging me as a dad. Right? I mean that. The easiest people to control are those that are weak and they're sick. And so if we're not wanting to be controlled by the enemy, if we're not wanting to be controlled by people who are against our family, against our faith, then let's step up and let's move forward in this world. Let's live a life on purpose. Let's live a life that has health as a part of it, this overall process of health. And so, brother, I'm thankful for the way that you're leading. I'm thankful that the way that you share. So real quickly, Noble Clay Fitness, Noble Clay Ministries. Somebody hears that and they say, "Hey, I either want to look at coaching around the Atlanta area, or I want to give to what you're doing. I love the mission of what you're doing." How do they get connected to you, Benjamin? Please, I'm not expecting you to give out your cell phone number, but how do they get connected to the ministry?
Yeah, so nobleclayfitness.com. We're about to launch our ministry website, which is nobleclayministries.com. You can find us on Instagram at nobleclayfit, Facebook, nobleclayfit, all that stuff. So,
awesome.
But yeah, reach out, and we can actually coach anywhere in the world through our app. So we do have people that we coach remotely and could help you. So, but reach out, feel free.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we've been blessed. We got thousands of people in 16, 18 countries now watching this. So this is really cool. It'll be cool to see where God takes this conversation. And so all of you who pulled up a seat at the table, I'm so glad that you joined us around the family table today. May we be different today because of this conversation. Thank you, Benjamin, for sharing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you soon. Thank you for pulling up a chair at the family table. We hope today's conversation has strengthened the bonds that hold us together. Don't forget to follow the show to keep these heartwarming stories coming your way. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with friends and family. And if there's someone whose family story you think would be a perfect fit for the show, drop their name in the comments. We would love to hear from you and bring more families to the table. Until next time, cherish those moments with your loved ones.